They sent the long-sleeved robe to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it. Is it your son's robe or not?" His father recognized it. "It is my son's robe," he said. "A vicious animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces." Did you guys catch in 31 what animal was killed? A goat. The sons used a goat to deceive their dad. Where did we last see that? When Jacob used a goat to deceive his dad. What did Jacob and his mom do? They went and they killed a goat. They skinned the goat, put its hair all over Jacob, so he was a hairy guy, put it on his arms and his neck, so he went to go get the birthright from his dad. He was able to deceive him. What do we see? Jacob's sons do the exact same thing to him. So what do we learn from this? You reap what you sow. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. What are the decisions that you are making right now that you probably might not see till years to come? Every moment matters. Everything we do should be intentional and have a purpose. But do you see what could get passed on if you're not careful, if I'm not careful? What are the things that I have not yet to confess or bring, or what are the decisions I have done and I'm going to see consequences for it? Jacob's receiving a consequence for deception he did years ago, and I need to share this. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. It means he does, and he wants to make things stop before they get worse. But there's consequences for our actions, and when we sin, it's not only us it impacts. And I don't know about you, but there are times I feel I'm the only one that this will impact. And it makes it not that big of a deal. It's just me. And sometimes you could hide yourself in a room and do whatever it is you're doing, thinking it's only impacting you. I'm going to close the door, lift up my laptop, type this in, and watch this, or I'm going to do this with my money. I'm going to do that. No, it's not going to impact anyone, just me. No, your sin impacts more than you. It impacts your family and your friends, your relationships, and your walk with the Lord. It will come to fruition. What are the things that you are planting in your life right now? The decisions that you're making right now. Every moment matters. And we see that Jacob, through his deception, is reaping that deception. Verse 34, then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth around his waist, and mourned for his son for many days. 35, all his sons and daughters tried to comfort him. He refused to be comforted. No, he said, I will go down to Sheol to my son, mourning. And his father wept for him. Verse 36, meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guards. I love that word. Meanwhile. In Jacob's world, it's all over. I got the bad news. It's done. And what do you see? There's a meanwhile. God is working behind the scenes. You have a meanwhile in your life. What is the meanwhile that you think is happening? You just received a phone call with some results? Maybe you got a text from some family members or friends. Maybe you haven't heard from a loved one in quite some time. You just took a pay cut. And we can react in that moment and think it's all over. And we have no idea the meanwhile that God is doing in the moment. God is in this. Joseph had to go to Egypt. There's a meanwhile that is happening in our lives. And all Jacob knows for the next years of his life, his son is dead. But we have no idea that God is in the midst of all of it. When you are in a trial, when you are in a crisis, do you know that the whole world and other believers are watching you? They want to see if you are really made of what you're made of. If you are really having that hope that you claim to have. When there is a crisis in your moment, people should see Christ in you. We don't want to just talk the talk, but walk it as well. Joseph is in all these moments, and you and I are going to be in our well moments, in our transition moments, in our cell moments, and we will see these things. But what holds true is God's plans for me are good, and there is a meanwhile. Why did Joseph have to go to Egypt? Well, let's remember. Let's go to Genesis 15. Join me to the left if you can. Turn to Genesis 15, and we're going to look at verse 13. Genesis 15, verse 13. This is something that God spoke to Abram, right? Before he became Abraham, and before we had this moment right here, God's speaking to Abram, and there is a prophecy that he's going to share. Genesis 15, 13 through 14, it says this. Then the Lord said to Abram, know this for certain. Your offspring will be resident aliens for what? 400 years in a land that does not belong to them, and will be enslaved and oppressed. Verse 14. However, I will judge the nation they serve, and afterward they will go out with many possessions. What does this sound like? Do you guys remember Exodus? And no, we're not doing Exodus for 2 years. Just Genesis. You guys see what happened here? This is something God said to Abram in Genesis 15. Your descendants, your offspring, they will be resident aliens in a foreign land and will be slaves for how long? 400 years. For this to happen, Joseph has to go to Egypt. And yes, they will be slaves there for 400 years. But you know what God's doing in the meanwhile of that? He's cleaning up Canaan. Canaan has a lot of idols and ideology that they're doing, and God needs to clean that out. So when God brings the people back, he's going to bless them. We don't know why things happen in our lives. I don't have an answer for you. I cannot sit here and pretend this is why God had you go through that. If you gave more, you wouldn't have to. No. Prosperity gospel, I cannot tell you why. What I remember and know is all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I know two things when something happens. I am loved by God. For God so loved the world. Who's in that world? That's you and I. And his plans for me are good. That's what I got to hold on to in those moments of doubt and the whys. We see that Joseph had to go to Egypt, and you're going to see that it's going to get his family over there. God's going to clean Canaan out. Yes, they're going to be slaves for 400 years, but you know what God's going to do? He's going to deliver them like he's delivered us through our sins, through our slaves of being sins. He's going to deliver us from that. He's going to bring us back to the promised land. And he will bring us to that promised land someday. And there's a meanwhile right now. You may feel forsaken or forgotten, but you are not. It's all part of God's plan.